It's Thursday, we start at 8:15. If you come in tomorrow at 8:15, you'll be 15 minutes late. Tomorrow we start at 8 o'clock and go to 9. Okay, in the back of the room, you'll see a young man, Mike Victor. Mike is an independent scholar and writer. He's writing a piece on aviation and new students entering into aviation program. And so he asked me if he could come and sit in the back of the class like a little mouse. So welcome, Mike. Mike's videoing from the back of the class. Afterwards, he'd like to visit, if possible, with a couple folks. You'd like somebody who's former military, right?
Yes, a couple veterans and maybe a couple fresh people out of high school.
Okay, so if you would like to do that, a couple minutes on the soundbite. You won't be on the 5 o'clock news today. It's a piece that he's writing independently, but he'd like to get your input if possible. So if you'd like to join Mike immediately after class, he'll be right there in the corner where he is now. And welcome, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Still doing the same thing. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm not pulling anything. I'm just trying to, I just got the software loaded here. So we'll see if we can work it out. Okay? So, good morning. We've got a couple things today. First of all, I'm supposed to have a full class, which means 36 seats filled. And I think I've only got one empty seat here, right? So, I got any other empty? Is that an empty seat next to you? Okay. So, apparently 2 people are missing. So, we're going to start off with what we'll do from now on is the attendance sheet. I'm going to start it over on the right. It should go as quickly as possible, so don't let it sit on your desk. Pass it along, pass it along. When you get to the back row here, switch over and it'll end up on the front. And whoever gets it on the front finished, please raise your hand and I'll come and get it. Okay? We need to do this in the first 5 minutes. All you got to do, technologies that we're using. And I need to see if it's going to work. Okay, on your device now, if you logged into this rwpoll.com session 1049, you should have this question on your device. Who does not have it on their device? The guy who just pulled his phone out, it's not logged in. So to get to it, you have to log into rwpoll.com, find that session, enter that session, and apparently the way I set it up. Answer it, you don't have it. It wants you to buy stuff. Don't buy anything.
No, if you log off and then log back on.
Yeah. Apparently the secret is if you're not getting it, log out and log back in. Okay? So here's what it looks like up here. It may be hard to see on this side, but there's a little sidebar here. So far I've gotten 8 responses. Or is it 3? Okay, now I've got 10 responses. So when we get this thing moving completely and everybody's on track, we should get 36 or, today 34 responses from the class. I'm not going to wait till we get that, 34. What I can do is I'll put the thing up there, give you a few minutes to think about. This is called a polling question. I can ask all different kinds of questions. Okay? And so those who want to answer. Real easy, A, B, C, D, E. And then what we could do in the end is very quickly get a feedback from the class. Most people said they either strongly agree or at least were neutral about the fact that this was an easy assignment. Okay? I might give you other assignments that aren't so easy, but at least what that tells me is the majority of the class found it. So that's called a polling question. All right? Let's try another type of question. How old are you? Be honest on this, mainly because I'm trying to get a sense of what the age group is. I'm suspecting probably the youngest person in here is about 17 or 18. And the oldest person, not very old. I don't have any. Every once in a while, you think you're going to be the oldest guy in the class. Don't fake it, though. I don't want to see any 107-year-old people. What's that? Or military folks. Okay, here's an important question now, and that is enter your student ID. When we get the system working, they allow guests to respond, and then you don't have to do anything except go in. How am I going to identify who you are? somewhere there's going to be enter your student ID. So that's where that slide will show up, enter your student ID, and then that will allow me to know when I get the spreadsheet that these are your responses. Okay? I'm going to count this partly as participation in the class. You're not expected to get every answer right when I do it, and we'll do a little quiz a little bit later on to see how that works. Not expected to get every answer right, but what I'm trying to do is get a feedback from the class of how well you understood some lesson. You know, so if it's something that's a little bit interesting, I'll put a question up here and I'll get a sense myself of whether the class pretty much understands it. There's a few who don't, or nobody understands it, and that way I can change my teaching on the fly. Okay, we good with that? I want to take a quick look at syllabus. Remember, all this week we're going to look at the syllabus. I want you to go to page 3 of the syllabus. And just a reminder how to get there. I like. So are you showing my class in your room now? Okay, good.
This is
AS 121, you know, for those of you who say, you know, I'm really serious about this business, I'm going to come to class every day. This has no meaning to you whatsoever. Okay, now every once in a while somebody gets ill or something like that. I do work with you on a personal basis. You know, so if there's one of those kinds of situations, email me, come to my office and talk to me about it. So, you know, I will work with you one-on-one. If you're serious, get here to class on time. So this policy, I've got to make sure that you understand this policy with the idea that most serious students don't even need to know it. However, according to our FAA, remember I said 14 CFR part, what is this school under? 141. Under part 141, we are allowed 5 absences. If you have more than 5 absences, the grade is a D. Is D a passing grade in this course? It's not a passing grade. You know, so what you do not want to go above 5 absences. So if you're absent for any reason, you still have to make up the class. It's a requirement to complete everything in the class. The class is made up of 5 sections, I should say. Each section ends with an exam. Got that? So by the time that exam comes around, you also have to do the makeup if you were absent during that section. Not at the end of the course, but at the end of each section. And it's right on the syllabus. Any questions on that? Okay, so that's the part I wanted to, you know, and then it says that students absent for more than 7 scheduled classes will be graded F. Well, if you miss more than 5, you might as well do something called withdraw, because you're going to have to repeat the course anyway. Yeah, so that's just part of the policy. I want to make sure you fully understand it. And I also want to make sure that we want to be as human as possible, which means if you have a circumstance that's out of the ordinary, talk to me. That's the most important part. Talk to me. Even the best way is anytime you want to email me. So that's as far as I'm going to go, but I want to make sure nobody has questions on that issue. While I'm at it, I wanted to note that I got 2 emails from students in this class. One person said that the student misread the question or didn't fill in the question properly. Remember that last quiz where you had to put ABC or whatever, and this person was overly exuberant and typed a whole bunch of stuff in there and consequently got them all wrong. I got an email, I'll fix it. I can fix it in Blackboard just as easily as that. So if you have a problem with something grading, just send me an email. Now, one person sent me an email and said, I marked a question incorrectly. How many think that they got a question on that quiz right, and yet the quiz said it was wrong? You're correct. There is an incorrect question there. Now, whatever question it is, it's very random, so I can't say it's question 4. It might have been 4 on yours and 3 on yours and 8 on yours. But it's the question about taxiing with the wind. okay? And you got it right. I knew I got it right. And one of the things about telling you got it wrong is that somehow you got now in your head something wrong. So I'm going to fix that today and make sure you got it all right. But those of you who got it marked wrong, congratulations, you get an extra point on that one. So life is good, isn't it? Life great. Okay. What I want to do next is introduce you to a source of information. Remember, I've been talking about the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. Okay, this is another source of information. It is called the AIM. Most pilots call it the AIM because they don't know what it stands for. It used to stand for Airman's Information Manual, and then somebody came out of the dark ages and realized that many airmen were also airwomen, and so now it is called the Aeronautical Information Manual. So if you go to page 1 on your syllabus, you should find the number 2 link there is the Aeronautical Information Manual, or what we fondly know in the business as the AIM or the AIM. Click on that. This is the official FAA document on aeronautical information. So very often things change. Remember I told you about the medical certificate? Remember that we were talking medical certificate, the way it is in this book, because this book was written a couple of years ago, is wrong. But if you go to the Aeronautical Information Manual and you look up medical certificates, you're going to find the correct answer for that. Okay, so that's an important thing to remember, is this is the official place to find information. I want you to just kind of take a look at the topics. We have air navigation, aeronautical lighting, and airport visual aids. We're going to spend a lot of time on that tomorrow, on airport markings and things like that. Airspace, it's something that we all have to deal with, is the concept of airspace is divided up, and you could do certain things in certain airspace and not in other airspace. So airspace has to do very much with the next 2, air traffic control and air traffic procedures. Also emergency procedures. You're going to find out something very important, that the pilot in command, which is going to be you, the first time you solo, you're going to be pilot in command of that aircraft, can violate any FAA regulation. Imagine that. For an emergency. It's the very first rule in Federal Aviation Regulations. It says a pilot in command may deviate from any regulation or any instruction if an emergency occurs. So if I'm given a direction, turn right heading 250, climb to 5,000, I turn right. There's an airplane there. I turn away. I violated the instruction, right? I can do that. It's perfectly legal. So we're going to learn about emergency procedures and how they work. Today's topic is safety of flight. We're not going to cover all the topics on safety of flight, but that's our topic for today. The next one is medical factors for pilots. Lots of information there, lots of interesting things about our bodies that are different when we get up into altitude. We get deprived of a little bit of oxygen, nighttime, and all that kind of stuff. Then there's things like the aeronautical chart, so we'll spend some time on that. And we won't spend any time on helicopters. We don't even have helicopter training here. We do at our Prescott campus. Prescott does have helicopter training, so some of you want to go into helicopters. You might want to think about doing not a transfer, but taking a class in Prescott in the summer or something like that and getting helicopter rating. Last thing is in there, there's an appendix on something called bird strike. What the heck is a bird strike? Anybody know of a little story that happened in New York?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what was that all about?
The airline, it flew, a flock of birds were flying and it flew right through it, and then they had to land
It was called the Miracle on the Hudson.
yeah.
The concept of a bird strike. That was probably the worst case of a bird strike that I've ever read about. Both engines on an A320 ingested a flock of birds, and both engines shut down.
I think it was geese.
Geese, yeah. in this context, birds are birds. Yeah, you don't have to know what it is you hit. Okay, a little closer to home, this actually happened to us about a year ago. You all have seen the Diamonds out here, the twin engine aircraft. Okay, and I don't know exactly what the date was, but this is what happened. This is the front end, and you have this in your folder if you want to take a closer look at it. This is the front end of that wing, and that's a bird. This is a turkey buzzard. You see lots of them here in Florida. This airplane got hit by a turkey buzzard, and that's what it looked like when it landed. The pilot didn't have any problems, by the way. He felt it was just fine. So that's another look at it. And this gives you a sense of how big it was, because that's a foot. So, you know, it's what? Probably close to a foot. But this is an interesting thing. This would never happen in your Cessna 172. Why? Somebody tell me why it wouldn't look like this in your 172. You know what? No? What is it?
The wings are metal.
Our wings in the 172 are made of metal, and this is a composite. This is a composite aircraft, and this is what happens when composite gets hit by about 135, 140 mile an hour bird.